Welcome to another episode of the Mental Warrior Podcast. Making all that noise. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you're listening to this on any podcast platform, I appreciate you for listening and tuning in. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, leave a review, do all that stuff. Because here at this podcast, the Mental Warrior Podcast, we're trying to help you win the war in your mind. Because when you win the war in your mind, you win the battle for your life. Because it's our goal here to raise an army of millions and millions of mental warriors. Because the world needs more mental warriors now more than ever. For those that don't know, you might be new around here. I'm your host, Zach, the host of the Mental Warrior Podcast. If I didn't say that enough already. And this is unscripted, it's uncensored. So I'm just going off the top of my head right here. But we're back with another episode. And it's that time of year, it's the holidays. It's everyone's favorite time of the year. It can also be a tough time for a lot of people. You know, we're in tough times in general right now. You know, a lot of people out there maybe can't afford things. Life is tough right now for a lot of people. So you should be grateful for what you have. I kind of talked about that on the last episode where I said every day should be Thanksgiving. But in this episode, I want to talk about tough times and getting through them. Because see, I started journaling a lot and writing, which I highly suggest that you start writing, journaling every day. Helps clear your mental, get your thoughts out, get them on paper. One day I was writing and I came up with this term that I live by now. It's that when times get tough, you got to double down to double up. Or simply, you got to double down to double up. So the title of today's episode is You Got to Double Down to Double Up. Because when times get tough, that's when you're truly tested to see what you're made of. And those are the times when you got to dig down deep into the mud, deep into the dirt. So you got to dig down deep, pull yourself out of the mud. Those are the times where you got to double down and go even harder and overcome all your obstacles. You got to be like the Terminator. You can't negotiate with the Terminator. You can't bargain with the Terminator. You can't stop the Terminator. And guess what? You're the Terminator. I'm the Terminator. Because the Terminators, they double down to double up. Because it gets darkest before the dawn, my friend. And right before it gets its darkest, that's when the stuff really hits the fan. That's when you feel like you're at your bottom. You're at the deepest deep. You're at rock bottom. You didn't think you could go any lower, but guess what? You can. So eventually you hit a point where you had enough and you're fed up. And you got to dig down deep and work harder and double down on the hard work. Because see, we're mental warriors. We already work hard. We already put in the work. But when you really get deep into it, that's when you got to double down and work even harder. Because the universe is funny. You think you want what you want. You think you're ready for what you want. But are you really ready? Well, the universe is going to test you to see if you're ready or not. And it's going to test you right before it gives you what you want. So right before you're ready to jump up that level to the next level, the universe is going to test you. And the universe is going to say, are you worthy of what you actually want yet? Are you even ready for it? Can you even handle what I'm about to give you? I'm going to test you to see if you're ready. Because I want to see what you're made of. Because you see, God and the universe has a funny sense of humor. They find humor in things like this. So a lot of times, before we're about to level up and break out and move on to the next thing, it just feels like everything falls apart. Nothing can go right. Just feels like it's constant darkness, constant thunderstorms. but the sun always comes back out. And the funny thing is, there's usually a rainbow after a thunderstorm. And then after the rainbow, the sun comes out. So that's why you got to double down to double up. So you'll see your rainbow, you'll see the sun come up, and you'll level up to the next level. I have a good story to tell. I did the Tough Mudder run last year for the first time, which I highly recommend to anyone. Actually, I just signed up to do this year's, and I'm doing 10 miles. Last time, me and a friend did 5 miles. This time, we're doing 10 miles. So you see, I practice what I preach. I'm doubling down. Last time we did 5 miles. This time, I'm doing 10 miles. The Tough Mudder is like a race, not a race. It's like a competition. It's a solo competition where you do these obstacle courses. You have to run 5 miles within a field somewhere. You get muddy. You go through the mud. You get shocked by electric fence. You got to climb under barbed wire. It's all this crazy stuff. It really tests you to see who you are. I highly recommend it to anyone, the Tough Mudder. But in one of the races last year, you got to go through like this valley, and there's like this water, and you got to walk through this water, and it's filled with mud. And this water is basically like knee deep. Like this water goes high, and the mud gets deep. And I was wearing shoes that were not the best shoes to wear. I'm not wearing them again. I got a new pair of shoes. But in a certain point of the race where you got to cross this stream and you got to go through this water, I got stuck in the mud. I literally could not get out of the mud. And I knew I would be fine. But initially you panic a little bit because you're stuck. You don't know what's going to happen. They got to come get you. I'm knee deep in mud. I got these shoes that are horrible. My shoes are filled with mud. And I was stuck in it. People are moving around me. Other people were getting stuck too. But I had to dig down deep and double up my leg strength to pull myself out of the mud. And I almost lost my shoes. I literally had to dig into the mud with my hands to pull my shoes out of the mud. So you see, when I got to the deepest, darkest point of the mud, I had to double down to double up and get the hell out of there. And guess what? I got out of there and I finished the race. Because at times when we're at our lowest, we could doubt things. We could think things are never going to change. I'm never going to get to where I want to go. But that's just the devil inside of you talking. Whether you believe in God or the devil, you can look at it like you have God on one side of your brain and the devil on the other side, right? The voices are always talking to you. No, you're not crazy. Voices talk to everyone. Well, I would think hopefully most people have some type of dialogue in their head, right? But you have both sides. You have the devil and God, negative and positive. You want to look at it like that. Those negative voices just always creeping and always coming at the worst moments. And it makes you downward spiral. One bad thought leads to 100 bad thoughts, right? And you get deeper and deeper down into the mud. Eventually, you just cut out the noise. You tell that voice to shut up. And you dig down deep. And you say, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show myself. I'm going to show the world. I'm going to dig down deep. I'm going to double up. I'm going to make something happen. I'm going to defy the odds. I'm going to do things I never thought I could do. I'm going to get to the level I want to go. Because now you know that when times get tough, you got to double down to double up. Because no matter what obstacles come your way, you can't let it stop you. Because you're a Terminator, right? You're a mental warrior. And the wheel in the sky keeps turning, life keeps going. So you got to keep going with it. You got to get in front of it. So even when you think things aren't possible and you can't change and you can't get to where you want to be and you doubt yourself, that's when you got to go harder, my friend. Those are the moments where you really gain the confidence and become the warrior that you really are. Because those are the times when you impress yourselves. Because I promise you, when you double down and you come out the other side of that mud, you're going to be like, man, I never thought this was possible. I never thought I would make it out. Not only did I make it out, I made it to the next level. And this has happened to you before. You just maybe didn't realize it. So really, if you think about it and you look back, you probably made it up 5 to 10 levels. This has probably happened to you a lot. You didn't even realize it. And our past experiences and our past wins give us the confidence and the strength to move on and get to that next level. So now I want you to think and reflect back in your life to when this probably happened to you and you didn't even realize it. When you didn't even realize you were being tested and you passed the test and you crushed the test, when you did double down and you did double up and you dug in deep and you pulled yourself out of the mud and you made it happen. Those are the things you need to reflect on and constantly remind yourself of, that I've been here before and I've been through the storm and I came out on the other side. I came out stronger on the other side. And I've been through a million storms. And guess what? I'm going to be through a million more storms because there's no sun without the rain. So when you're at the darkest points, when you're at the lowest points, those are the times you got to work the hardest. Those are the times where you don't give up. You got to keep it pushing because it's like that Journey song, the wheel in the sky keeps turning. We're only here for a short amount of time and we're capable of way more than we realize. And by doubling down and doubling it up, that helps you realize what you're really capable of. So if you're going through some tough times right now, just know that God in the universe only tests its strongest warriors. And it doesn't give you anything you can't handle. So maybe you fail the test 10 times, but eventually you'll get it. And the 11th time, you'll pass it. You just got to keep going. That's what all success is. It's just constantly showing up, digging down deep, putting in the work, and eventually it pays off. So if you're going through some tough times right now, hopefully this will help you. If you go through tough times in the future, which I guarantee you will eventually hit some tough times, just remember that when times get tough, let me say that again. Remember, when times get tough, you got to double down to double up because that's how you get to the next level and that's how you become a mental warrior. So now I want to give yourself listening, reflecting. Hopefully you implement some things that you learned from this podcast. And hey, don't forget, tell a friend, tell a foe about the Mental Warrior podcast because we're all in this together. And together we can be an army of millions and millions of mental warriors. So that's it for this episode. I appreciate you watching and listening. You know, I get some great feedback from you guys, so I appreciate it. So if you're watching and listening, let me know what you think because you never know who you could help. And every little comment can help and make a difference. So that's it. I'll see you next time.